The basketball addicts are back at it, and Steve Kerr switching the story a bit, saying his team is not chasing the record after losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, he said this before the loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then they come out, they lose to Young Wiggy's World and the very athletic Timberwolves squad. So here's the question. This is the Weekly Warrior. We look ahead at what's happening. But first off, do you buy that this team is not pushing for that record?
Of course they're pushing for it. What you want to make history.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to be the team that takes out the Chicago Bulls 72-10, the great MJ, and they're starting their own dynasty right now. Don't let them fool you.
So
They want that
I don't
record.
see any other reason why your starters are playing.
still
Yeah.
playing.
You guys on
So is he
single
back?
losses.
Here's the question then. Is he backpedaling now because it's become all too real?
I don't think
and it's-
he was ever a part of that. I think that
That
was
is
more of a team mentality where like they
Players.
said this year we're gonna do this. Like this is what we there's no reason we should lose. We have all the pieces.
once
But-
it became feasible.
yeah, and with
everybody.
him, I feel like he's just focused on championship. Like that's what he's brought there to do.
It's kind of the right approach.
And he's already made history. He's on that team. He might be sabotaging some things.
problem,
Like,
the problem is when you go for a record like that, you may burn yourself out.
Exactly.
So the time when you need to kind of rest guys, like we said, you may burn out, and then by the time playoffs come, something happens.
Can't
Hey,
tell
well, look
Draymond
at it. Look at
Green
it.
not to play.
Here's the recipe for success right now. 4
teams.
games left. You got 2 teams to play. You got a San Antonio team that's actually beating you, switching things up, zoning you up on the three-point line, and a Memphis team with a very strong identity. They got to win out to break the record. Does someone beat them from this group? McFly.
San Antonio.
Which
without a
one?
doubt. Both games. I believe.
Both games. They
Yeah.
lose. Oh,
I think
At
they're
least
losing both
one.
games.
so they
at
will not
least
tie
one.
the record.
I feel like the last game they really found the formula for Curry because I noticed that a lot of teams they don't switch. They try to chase him all
yep.
around, and you can't keep up with that guy because you give him a second of space and he's letting it fly.
you got
So
some
it's like
of the smarter power forwards and bigs like David West
Exactly,
and Aldridge that can
exactly.
switch. All right, so
Pop is a genius, man. You can't keep beating Pop the same way.
okay, now here's something else that we keep having to throw in there because the old guys keep interjecting them into this conversation. Scottie Pippen was asked, oddly enough, if he thinks the 96 Bulls would beat this current Warriors team in a 7-game series.
Smart man.
Answer, sweep. Who's buying, who's selling? Craig Mannix, you buying? You're old. You're the oldest guy here.
Yes, I am.
You're in camp with the Bulls.
That is correct. I am old, and I do remember when that season happened. I'll say this. If it's the Warriors going back and playing with the rules back then,
Really?
they're losing.
Talk to him.
But is
They're
it,
losing.
Are you buying?
Talk to him.
Listen,
Are you
listen,
buying a sweep?
They're stretchers.
Are you buying
Guys
a
are
sweep?
leaving
Yeah.
on stretchers.
Tell
Are you buying a sweep?
I am
Answer
buying,
the question.
I'm buying a sweep.
You
with
ain't got the
90s
answers,
rules.
Craig. You ain't got the
I'm
answers.
buying a sweep with the 90s rules.
You ain't got the answers.
I'm exactly with him.
Are you
90s
serious?
Rules, they are destroying them.
Sweep.
Scottie Pippen on
Sweep.
Thompson and
Sweep.
Jordan guarding Steph Curry. It's a wrap.
Sweep.
I'm not buying. I'm selling on a sweep.
Touch me.
I'm giving this Golden State team their
Some respect.
generational team. Come on. I mean, rules or no rules. You look at Green. You look at the depth they have. They're talented. They have a big man that's legit.
One word, sir.
You know what I mean?
Dennis Rodman.
They do have Dennis Rodman. Not sweep. I'm selling on.
Can I
on
just
a
throw
sweep.
one thing out there? The Bulls didn't sweep anyone in the finals. Anyone, ever.
Fine. That's fine.
Now they're magically going to sweep the second
Yes,
greatest
because
team ever?
this team
fine.
in the 90s could not handle
All right, okay.
They
those
don't have
guys.
the- they don't have
It's
the physical
apparent.
toughness.
It's apparent.
They don't have the
Well, you
physical
could hand
toughness.
check.
at all.
Good hand check.
All right, okay.
At all.
Good hand check.
Yeah, of
grab,
course,
push.
hand check.
All right,
Of
Maddox,
course.
calm down. We'll give you this half of the couch. Your points.
We good over here. We good over here.
We're good over here. Let's talk about something else, though. The Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame had to induct some new guys. And they're guys that we're very familiar with.
ladies.
And ladies.
Oops.
But we're going to focus on a couple of gentlemen who we want to ask a question if they could currently play in the NBA. So I'm talking about Shaquille O'Neal. I'm talking about Yao Ming. These are two guys who are talking about generational teams. These are generational players. They're transcendental players along the ilk of the Bill Russells and the Walt Chamberlains. Could they play right now? Starting with the old guy?
Old guy.
They could, but they wouldn't be as dominant as
Shaq?
they once were.
Yeah, definitely
Yes.
not.
The game's too fast
game's
now.
too
The game's
fast.
a guard
It's-
game.
You know, they'd get their boards. I don't think the offense would be there.
I don't think Shaq could keep up as much as
Yeah.
Remember Young Shaq, though?
I
He would
remember
probably
Young
have to-
Shaq
have-
dive
Shaq
in
would run
and
the floor and stuff. I
hustling
remember
for ball,
that,
but I
mean,
still think that this game is way too fast. For
I would buy that argument for Yao Ming simply because he was barely able to keep up in that current NBA.
But he did have a
I'll
jumper,
give
though.
Shaq. I will
he
give
did have a
Shaq.
jump
That's
shot,
the one
though.
thing
He
about
could
him.
shoot.
He
Yeah.
can shoot. I will give Shaq
shoot.
props though. He was very mobile, quick, big man, especially in the first, say, 7,
5,
8,
6
yeah,
years, yeah, for
exactly,
sure.
years of his career. I think he could keep up. He was
We
thinner,
think too much
obviously.
Lakers Shaq.
Iverson, we know, obviously. Could
I
play
didn't
in
mention
any
him yet.
gen-
I didn't mention
Oh,
him
I
yet.
thought you
so
were gonna
stop reading the notes
All
before
right,
you come
sorry,
on
man.
second.
My bad.
All right.
Supposed
So,
to read the
Yeah,
so
me no.
my next question. All right, so everyone.
I did my homework.
Great segue.
Don't do your
All right,
homework.
go.
Don't do
Here's the
your
question.
homework.
Here's the question, though. Can I host my show, please?
Yeah, man,
All right,
definitely,
thanks.
man.
Allen Iverson. A lot of people are kind of whitewashing the history of Allen Iverson. Was Allen Iverson good for the game or bad for the game? What is his lasting legacy?
Great for the
Amazing.
game.
Great for the game.
He always got criticized
Although-
because of maybe the hood mentality or whatever it is. But he actually opened up people's eyes to say, hey, you know what? People are different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they had to go to the dress code and whatnot.
Tattoos,
I still agree with that to
do-rags.
a certain extent. But I think the fact that he was real, it still resonates with people who are NBA
I
fans.
personally just hate the practice voice note or whatever you want to call it. Because it was completely taken out of context.
It was,
and
that's true.
No one
people
no one
understand.
goes back to see what he was really saying.
best
at the
friend
time.
had just
Best friend
died.
died. They just lost in the playoffs. Like there was a lot happening for him, and he was there for those reasons,
Yep.
not for.
Shouts out to that
missing
Netflix
practice.
documentary for adding more
Touch me.
context.
Touch
for
me.
a lot of people who didn't already know that information.
Answer.
Craig?
I think that I think that Iverson. Here's the thing about Iverson. I think right now he would not be a point guard. He'd probably be a 2. He was playing out of his
I wanna know
position
more-
for
not necessarily
majority
game,
of his career.
His legacy, though.
Well, his
was it
legacy
positive or
was he
negative?
was unstoppable.
Yep.
Pound for pound.
He was
pound for pound.
unstoppable.
Never
That's
won a
the
championship.
legacy.
How unstoppable are you if you
What?
never win a championship?
Oh man!
Here's
It's
my
so-
argument, guys.
it's about
Here's my
changing
argument.
now.
do that?
Yeah, okay, hold on,
You
wait,
don't
wait.
do
Let me get
that?
in here for a bit. Let me get in here for a bit. It is my show. Let me just say something, okay?
that twice.
Allen Iverson is the guy who made the NBA institute the dress code, okay? Now, I'm not going to knock it. I didn't like the dress code, but he did do certain things that kind of brought the game to a negative light. Then you got to talk about the simple fact that he ran Jerry Stackhouse and Larry Hughes out of Philly. He made it extremely difficult for people to exist in that franchise. He refused to pass the ball. Lackluster defender that shot the gap all the time, so we had all those steals, so people were kind of misconstrued. But was he all positive? I mean, you look at his generation, Steve Francis, Marbury, Tracy McGrady. USA basketball had to go in a different direction after those guys were the mainstays of basketball because it kind of hurt the game. Yes or no? I'll stand back.
I don't feel like it hurt the game. For example, the crossover ban, right?
Yeah.
They feel like that was hurting the game when people are doing the same crossover today and it's helping the game. So it's like it's all about perspective, I believe. It's like it's what I feel like a lot of the time it was just because of his image why it attracted so much attention. Like this is bad and this is bad, especially what happened before he came in. Like you're talking about someone that just came out of prison.
Yep.
And had that whole issue that occurred
Change
back
is
when he was in
slow.
high school.
Change is slow,
Yeah.
especially when the establishment has a certain view of how things should look and how
Exactly.
people should
Hey,
carry
Phil
themselves.
Jackson.
I mean,
I'll give you guys this. Culturally, he was huge, and I agree with you. I just think on the basketball court, basketball had to go a different direction. Hey, no, you know that.
But why do you feel that
Stop
way?
it.
Why do you feel
Why
that
did
way?
they?
Because
I agree.
basketball had to go a different direction.
Why
what I'm
do
saying
you
is he
feel
didn't
that
make
way?
his
Because
players better
America
at times.
started falling behind when every kid wanted to be like Allen Iverson instead of playing the game by the fundamentals. Listen, I'm not here to argue because we ran out of time.
We're talking about fundamentals
listen,
now?
We're talking about not the
fundamentals?
game, not the game. We're talking about fundamentals. All right. Listen, we'll be back with more Hangout after the break. I want to send kudos to no one right now because guess what? The security guard that let this amazing NBA moment happen when Carmelo and the kid got fired.
Yep.
Come on, New Orleans. Even Carmelo's wondering what's going on. Hangout